Mr. Speaker, let me return to the Rwanda Migration and Economic Development Partnership. So 2.5 years after the previous government launched it, I can report it has already cost the British taxpayer £700 million in order to send just 4 volunteers. Those costs include £290 million payments to Rwanda, chartering flights that never took off, detaining hundreds of people and then releasing them, and paying for more than 1,000 civil servants to work on the scheme. A scheme to send 4 people. It is the most shocking waste of taxpayers' money I have ever seen. Looking forward, the costs are set to get worse. Even if the scheme had ever got going, it's clear it would only cover a minority of arrivals. Yet a substantial portion of future costs were fixed costs. For example, the annual direct payments to Rwanda, the contracts for escorts, the staffing in the Home Office, the detention and reception centres and more. So the taxpayer would still have to pay out no matter how few people were relocated. And most shocking of all, over the 6 years of the Migration and Economic Development Partnership forecast, the previous government had planned to spend over £10 billion of taxpayers' money on the scheme. They did not tell Parliament that. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Rwandan government for working with the UK in good faith, because the failure for this policy lies with the previous UK government. It has been a costly con, and the taxpayer has had to pay the price. Let me turn now to the Illegal Migration Act. This law has been in place for a year. We were told it would stop the boats. That has clearly failed. The legal contradictions in the Act are so great they make it unworkable. Indeed, 12 months on, the central duty has not even been enacted. It is also costing the taxpayer billions of pounds. Under Section 9 of the Act, people who arrive can claim asylum and get asylum accommodation. But under Section 30, if they arrive after March 2023 and meet key conditions in the Act, no decision can be taken on their case. They just stay in the asylum system. Even if they've come here unlawfully for economic reasons and should be returned to their home country, they won't be, because the law doesn't work. Only a small minority might ever have been sent to Rwanda. Everyone else stays indefinitely in taxpayer-funded accommodation and support. Now, the Home Office estimate that around 40% of asylum cases since March of 2023 should be covered by these Illegal Migration Act conditions. The remaining 60% under the previous government's policy should still have been processed and cleared in the normal way. However, even though previous ministers introduced this new law 12 months ago, they didn't ever introduce an effective operational way for the Home Office to distinguish between the cases covered by the Illegal Migration Act and the other cases where decisions should continue, between the 40% and the 60%. So as a result, decisions can't be taken on any of them. I have been shocked to discover that the Home Office has effectively stopped making the majority of asylum decisions. Thousands of asylum caseworkers cannot do their proper job, and as a result, the backlog of asylum cases is now going up. It is the most extraordinary policy I have ever seen. We have inherited Asylum Hotel California. People arrive in the asylum system and they never leave. The previous government's policy was effectively an amnesty, and that is the wrong thing to do. And it isn't just bad policy, it's also completely unaffordable. The cost of this indefinitely rising asylum backlog in hotel and accommodation support bills is astronomical. The potential costs of asylum support over the next 4 years, if we continue down this track, could be an eye-watering £30 to £40 billion. That is double the annual police budget for England and Wales. Mr. Speaker, this newly elected government is not prepared to let this chaos continue. So let me turn to the action we are urgently taking to restore some grip to the system, to tackle the chaos and to get costs down. First, I have informed the Rwandan government we will be ending the Migration and Economic Development Partnership. We will save £220 million on further direct payments to Rwanda over the next few years, And we will immediately save up to £750 million that had been put aside by the previous government to cover the MEDP this year. Second, we will invest some of the saved money from the Migration Partnership into a new Border Security Command instead. It will bring together the work of the Border Force, the National Crime Agency, the Small Boats Operational Command, intelligence and security officers. The recruitment has begun for a new commander, and we will put in place additional cross-border officers, investigators, prosecutors, intelligence and security officers, with new counter-terror-style powers against organised immigration crime announced in the King's speech last week. We're immediately increasing UK officers' involvement in Europol and the European Migrant Smuggling Centre. And third, we will replace the Rwanda Migration Partnership with a serious returns and enforcement programme. We have immediately replaced the flight planning for Rwanda with actual flights to return people who have no right to stay to their home countries instead. We're immediately redeploying Home Office staff away from the failed Rwanda partnership and into returns and enforcement to reverse the collapse in removals that has taken place since 2010. And I have tasked the Immigration Enforcement Team with intensifying enforcement activity this summer, targeting illegal working across high-risk sectors. Fourth, we will end the asylum chaos and start taking asylum decisions again so we can clear the backlog and end asylum hotels. The new Border Security, Asylum and Immigration Bill announced in the King's speech will bring in new replacement arrangements, including fast-track decisions and returns to safe countries. But in the meantime, I am laying a statutory instrument which ends the retrospective nature of the Illegal Migration Act provisions so that the Home Office can immediately start clearing cases from after March 2023. Mr. Speaker, making this one simple change will save the taxpayer an estimated £7 billion over the next 10 years. And fifth, as the Prime Minister has just set out, we will work closely with our European neighbours to tackle the upstream causes of migration, including through the Rome process. Mr. Speaker, this country will always do our bit alongside others to help those fleeing war and persecution. But we need a proper system where rules are enforced. There are no quick fixes to the chaos created over the last 14 years, and it will take time to clear the asylum backlog, to bring costs down, to get new enforcement in place, to strengthen our borders and prevent dangerous boat crossings. But there is no alternative to serious, hard graft. We cannot waste any more time or money on gimmicks. The country voted for change, and that means it is time for a sensible and serious plan. I commend this statement to the House.
Just say a very important statement, and it ran over slightly, so I'm more than happy for the front bench spokespersons also to run over if need be. Shadow Home Secretary James Cleverly.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, and I welcome you back to your place, my first opportunity to do so in my time both as Home Secretary and indeed before that as Foreign Secretary. You were very kind to me, my minor indiscretions at the dispatch box, late deployment of statements and slight overrunnings. As you know, you've also been very, very kind to my family in sometimes quite trying circumstances, and I very much appreciate that. I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate the Right Honourable Lady on her appointment as Home Secretary. It is a challenging but incredibly rewarding job, and I genuinely, because the security of this nation is now very much in the hands of her and her ministers, I genuinely wish her all the success in everything she is looking to do. And I know she inherits in the Home Office a dedicated team of civil servants who will help her keep the country safe and secure. They did that to me when I was in her position. I'd also like to take this opportunity, of course, it's disorderly to recognise their presence, but if I were to wave my hand vaguely in this direction, I might also take the opportunity to thank my previous private office civil servants. It says here, I want to thank the Home Secretary and her team for advance sight of the statement. I just put a line through that. The Labour Party and indeed the Home Secretary in her statement like to talk tough on border security, but today's statement, despite all the hyperbole and the made-up numbers, is basically an admission of what we knew all along, is that the Labour Party have scrapped the Rwanda partnership on ideological grounds, removed a deterrent which the National Crime Agency said that we needed, and the level of discourtesy directed towards the people and government of Rwanda is quite breathtaking. To have them read about this decision in the papers before anyone from government had the good grace to formally notify them, I think, is an error, and no one in this House believes for a moment that that level of discourtesy would have happened had this partnership been with a European country. Labour has given an effective amnesty to thousands of asylum seekers who are banned under Conservative plans. And Labour's plans amount to doing less than we were doing when we were in government and merely changing the signs above a few desks at the Home Office with their so-called border command and their returns unit. Before the election, the Right Honourable Lady said that she would create a returns unit. Now, the narrative is that she is going to redeploy some staff, not increase the number of staff, redeploy some staff, showing that the returns function already exists. And the fact there is now no safe third country to return people to who cannot be returned home means that we ask, where is she going to send the people who come here from countries like Afghanistan or Iran, in Syria? Has she started negotiations on returns agreements with the Taliban or the Ayatollahs of Iran or Assad in Syria? And if she's not going to send anyone that arrives here on small boats to Rwanda, which local authorities will she be sending people to? We were closing hotels when I was in government, and I wonder which local authorities will be receiving those asylum seekers. If not Rwanda, will it be Rochdale or Romford or Richmond? And most importantly, can the Right Honourable Lady now confirm that if you arrive here illegally in a small boat, you will be able to claim asylum? And finally, will she confirm how long after she briefed the media that she was scrapping the partnership with Rwanda did she have the courtesy to speak directly with the Rwandan government? And it is because we now have no deterrent that nobody wants to take on the role of the head of her new so-called border command. Neil Basu, former senior police officer, a man who I have huge respect for, was Labour's #1 choice. He's ruled himself out. And we now learn that General Stuart Skeets, again, a very highly respected former British Army general who was in large part responsible for delivering the Albania deal, which cut small boat arrivals by 90% from that country, has resigned from his position as Director of Strategic Operations. To misquote Oscar Wilde, to lose one border commander could be seen as a misfortune. To lose two looks like carelessness, perhaps even incompetence. I also notice, and it's available online for those who are thinking of applying, that the new job advert for Labour's Border Security Command is located not in Kent, where the channel is, but is flexible from Belfast, Bristol, Cardiff, Durham, Glasgow, Liverpool or Manchester, none of which, the last time I checked, are anywhere near the English Channel. The reality is, everybody knows, including the people smugglers, that the small boat problem is going to get worse. Indeed, has already got worse under Labour because they have no deterrent. People are being sold a lie when they are being smuggled into this country across the busiest shipping lanes. And we do need to stop them. Too many lives have already been lost. Sadly, 6 more have been lost in the Channel in the last few weeks, and our hearts go out to them and their loved ones. We disagree on many things, but we can agree that we need to put an end to this evil trade. But sadly, the initial decisions that her government has made this problem worse and not better.